Hey, I'm Pops. Welcome to What's Your Story. Completely different than maybe some of the others are. Hopefully, you still find this entertaining. Want to hang out with me for a little while, but I want to talk about this Titanic submersible tragedy story that evolved over the last couple weeks. Kind of some of the facts that we learned, but I really want to kind of dive a little bit into what is the lessons here. What is one of the major things I hope everybody can take home? It has to deal with more with like honesty and integrity and communicating in a manner where trust can be built, because I think that we're in a place where a lot of elements and systems in our society have become very fragile because a lot of people have lost faith in them. And this story embodies a lot of that because the information we had was not the real information that they knew for several days. So, for instance, the story goes that they went down and they did hear a loud bang. And while that is, I mean, James Cameron had come out and said it imploded, they're gone. Um, and he was proven right, but none of that was told to anyone for several days, even though the families were notified right away. So why did we sit on the silence? Why was everything on a media blackout for 3, 4, 5 days? Why are you having people believe in hope, fake hope? Why are you having people like us, like me, like praying for them, hoping that they can be safe? God, if it's your will, bring them home. And it's like, well, they're already dead. It's like, why are you putting people in a place to be embracing something that you know is not true? What is and why do you think there won't be a consequence to that? And then I want to hopefully come through our conversation just briefly and come and bring that home to us so we can understand why it's important for us to not be that way. Okay. So this was the first headline that just knocked my socks off. The U.S. Navy knew about the Titanic sub implosion days ago. And it talks about the sound anomaly and all that information. And here you have just a photo of this, like, morning type individual. And we fast forward to, a couple days, and then we end up with, you know, they actually have the remains. They actually have what was found. So this is one of the more recent things. This was transcribed from a CNN article, and it says, let me see here. Here we go. There you go. U.S. medical experts will analyze presumed human remains found within the Titan submersible's wreckage. A mystery still surrounds the vessel's catastrophic implosion last week in the North Atlantic. Quote, there's still substantial amount of work to be done to understand the factors that led to the catastrophic loss of the Titan and ensure a similar tragedy does not occur again, said Coast Guard Captain Jason Neubauer in a statement Wednesday, nearly a week after the calamity was confirmed. Well, so technically a week after it was confirmed, but they knew 5 to 7 days prior to that. So this means we're getting information like it's like 2 weeks old. Then it goes through oceangate expeditions. It talks about the $250,000 ticket because everyone's always hung up on this money issue, and it's such a non-story. Like the fact that it's an expensive endeavor to do something like this, or this is how a wealthy person spends their money, is no interest to me. That's like having an argument over we shouldn't allow people that are wealthy to buy a Lamborghini, because I don't believe that you should be spending $250,000 on a car. Well, that's their, why should they have a $15 million mansion? Things like that. It's like, I don't, what do I care? It's like, it's not my money. I don't care. You know, are we supposed to just judge people for having poor decisions? And if we are, then why are we only judging the wealthy? Now we're judging everyone universally. So, let's see. It just talks about delivering the news, and then the Coast Guard knew, and then, Evidence from the Titan wreckage has arrived to the Canadian coastal city of St. John's in Newfoundland and Labrador, the U.S. Coast Guard said Wednesday. And then it talks about moving through some of the process of dealing with the human remains and where it's going to be taken for analysis. Quote, the evidence will provide investigators with several internal I'm sorry, several international jurisdictions with critical insights into the cause of the tragedy. And then it talks about some of the pieces that they found, and then talks about the cooperation. They mentioned the United States, United Kingdom, and France in according to international agreements. And then mourning the people that are lost. And here's their images: Hamish Harding, Shahzada Dawood, Sulman Dawood, Paul Henry, uh, Narjole, I think is how you would say that, Stockton Rush. Then it's just, yeah, this is just the details surrounding the people that passed away, that kind of thing. So let me go full circle back to you guys. If you hear another story and a person's lost at sea, another tragedy, another event, a boat overturned, those kinds of things, do you feel like you can trust the authorities that they've given you the latest information? Because in crime cases, they'll hold back information usually for two reasons. One, they haven't contacted the family, or they've got to make sure they go through the protocols properly to maintain confidentiality and safety and well-being of everyone involved, and being as respectful we can if it is a tragedy. And then two, they're keeping information back because it may be there may be some sort of element to a crime or investigation that is not resolved. Neither of these situations were in play. They had a lot of information, they knew things, and they withhold it. We don't know why they withheld it. And I don't really even care to go deeper into the story, but I want to ask you, like, do you let yourself get caught up in holding back being truthful and honest and transparent? And if so, why? And I think that, as individuals, the damage that we do in that case is probably very small or minimal. I think the closer you go in a relationship, the less of that needs to take place. Like, for instance, me withholding something from my wife, I would have to be pretty justified to do that. I should be very transparent with her. She's my life partner, right? So I want to be very transparent with her, and I hope she's very transparent with me. But like with my kids, especially when they're young, there's a whole lot of things that you hold back, right? You don't expose them to the inner workings of things that are, in adult life. You wait, and then when they get older, they learn a little bit more. They're involved with a lot more information than they would have had when they were younger. Maybe there's pieces of the story they don't ever need to know. Like, it's just not relevant. They don't need to know. I mean, it's not like it's big secrets that we need to keep in a vault. It's just, that's it. And then you go further out, you don't go around divulging a lot of information to maybe coworkers or just random friends, different things like that. And then, when you come to something like this where you're out on the internet, it's like, well, what do you do? How transparent can you be and go? And where is that line for you being truthful and honest and a person of integrity that people can trust? So you don't have that trust ever get violated. You don't want to ever do things that mislead people. And I think it would be like saying, obviously I'm using a tragedy as my example because I wanted to get to I wanted to find, I had this in my head and I couldn't think of a way to articulate it. And it got me to the point where I realized that this story went so viral because one, I don't think there was a ton of stuff in the news, but more importantly, we love hope, right? I think humans, we want to cling to hope. We want to cling that there's a chance for survival. We love a victory. We love an overcoming story. I think it's ingrained in us because when we're down or we're in a sense of hopelessness, when we're going through those dark times, we want to know there is something on the other side of that hurdle or that obstacle. And I think this story represented, sure, it's wealthy people in a submersible at the Titanic that cost $250,000. No, I'm not ever doing that. But you could see yourself in a situation where you could be trapped or hopeless, and you would want to think people are sending you goodwill and prayers and hope, and there's rescue teams or whatever the case may be. It could be something as simple as a national disaster, and you're caught up in the wake of some sort of storm or tragedy. I remember the earthquakes in San Francisco when the collapses were happening, people were trapped, and you were like in shock. Obviously we talk about national tragedies like a 9/11 or something like that, but the hope that we have in our humanity is so important. And I feel like the media, the government officials, the corporations, so many of these entities are trampling over that trust relationship that we have with them, that we have to have a good faith relationship. And so much of that has been completely destroyed, especially over the last couple years. And you guys know what we're talking about. But more than that, especially at the government level. Oh, my microphone went funny. That was weird. Hopefully that didn't affect you guys. Maybe it's just my earpiece. Um, the government level, because they were telling us things that they didn't have all the information over. They just wanted certain things to be true, and it become for a motivation, it become for power, become control. It's a lack of trust or faith in us. They think they know better than us. And then when you go to like media corporations, you have them doing policies and different things that they're doing, and you don't exactly know why. It starts to break down that trust relationship very much, right? You just very much have. Sorry, my earbud went crazy. So, nope, it's definitely not doing right. That's not good. That's going to drive me completely crazy. Um, it starts to break down the entire model of our relationship, whatever that looks like, right? If you are dealing with certain items or agendas and things that are kind of like become transparent, I don't trust you as a corporation. You're not doing the things with the money that I'm buying your product for. Our relationship is not clean. There's a lot of things going on in our relationship that's poisoning that. And I know this store, I'm getting like, it seems like I'm getting far away from this, but I hope that you're seeing that the integrity and trust that we need to have to try to stay as pure as we possibly can have. I'm not saying that you should put yourself out there and you should all be vulnerable and do those things, but I'm saying it's what you do put out there, be honest and true to yourself. You have to live with yourself. And, the old saying, lies will find you out, right? So this wasn't a complicated what's your story or something. I've got a couple of guests coming up that are amazing. Adega Outlaw, Clobber in Time, had a technical issue with Culture Casino. God, Lord help him. We had this incredible conversation. The file's not on my computer. It's been deleted. I don't know what happened. So hopefully we can figure that out and maybe get it redone. But he's got a lot going on. And it's just, I don't tell you that for any particular response, but that's what's going on. So I thought, well, I'm going to do a filler. What's your story this week? Empty my heart. It's my birthday weekend, so I'll be with the grandkids hanging out. I don't know that I'll even be able to be in the chat during this premiere, but I want to know that I want you guys to know that I don't want to ever do things, and then I don't want you to ever feel like you shouldn't call me out on doing things where you don't think I'm being genuine and honest, right? Part of the reason I didn't pursue any of the media elements of my side hustle, that's what I always call them, right? Because I've always had a day job this whole time, was because I never felt like I was going to be in a situation where I had a good trust bond relationship with that. I had control. Like one, for instance, when you're doing website work and you're relying on Google, very similar to YouTube and the algorithm, you don't have control. Some vague faceless entity could pull a lever and shut everything off. Well, how do you have faith and trust in that? You can't trust that. Tomorrow could be the end. That's not even based on your action. That's just based on something arbitrary that you don't have control over. Then you have situations where you could go work for media outlets, writing for them, working in radio, working in other communication outlets, and you're at the mercy of so much corporatism and red tape. It's so much worse than the corporatism and stuff that I was already in or that I had already experienced. And that is not transparent and honest. A company I worked for, they were doing a downsizing and they weren't being honest. Like for months, I knew this was coming. I knew it was coming. And to this day, if I let myself go there, I will want to kick myself because when we had gotten certain uh, opportunities in the business to grow, it was this massive thing. So when that stuff was coming to an end, there was an expiration date that was coming due. The contract was not getting renewed. Obviously, negating all of that was going to be this massive impact, and the footprint was going to be wide and deep. And I just knew living through it, it was going to be bad, and I didn't prepare and react proactively and end up getting caught up in the wave of all of the cuts and cost savings, and the blame games are going around, and I had an opportunity to make a change. I didn't want to do it. And y- you don't want to get yourself caught up in, you want to, I should say it this way. You want to minimize how much you get caught up, because we don't have total control of that no matter what we do. But you want to minimize some of that risk, right? You want to minimize putting yourself in a situation where your livelihood, your relationships, things like that can just be, thrown into upheaval overnight for things that are beyond your control. And part of that is don't be a fraud. Don't be a liar. Don't be a shill. Don't go out and tell people this immersible's down there. They heard a bang, and then make everybody think that people are still alive for days, and you knew all along they weren't. I don't know what kind of resources and money was spent or wasted. I don't know how many people. I really couldn't imagine the family knowing that they already knew the end result, but the world didn't quite know. Like, to be able to have to see all that, it kind of blows my mind of what kind of emotional turmoil that would have created as well. And then now know that it's all tied up in all this investigative red tape, where you may just want your loved one's remains to just put closure to this. So I don't. It makes me just even more skeptical of the media and the control and all of that, when it's just something like this tragedy. It should have been a uniting moment where we can, like, come together in prayer and hope. But once we knew, we could have been in mourning and solidarity of support for this family and all of the loss. And it would have allowed us a moment of reflection of our own mortality and how much more we should come together and not allow division to keep tearing us apart. So, um, it's kind of a convoluted topic that was on my heart and my mind. It's been there for probably a week and a half, and I just, I try to schedule this show because I wanted to really get into this element of our life and our humanity. And I really want to do that more. I really want to open it up to veterans who would share their war stories with me, or maybe a story you have about, um, you know, a loved one that's gone. Maybe it's a father, grandfather, whatever, different things like that, so that those things are documented. Those things are sort of captured. And I don't think Watch Your Story needs to be an hour long, or even a half hour. Like, maybe it needs to be just what it is, or maybe there needs to be a week of 3 or 4 or 5 war stories or life lessons, or how I recovered from divorce or drugs or alcohol. And all of that, I think, taps into who we are as people, and ways that we should be trying to help one another through the struggle called life. And I try to be transparent about my faith and honest with you about that, but I don't want that to be a hindrance between you and me, like I'm judging you. Because I got to be honest, a lot of why I do this is the therapeutic and the curiosity that I have. Why did I want to talk to a Dega outlaw? Because I'm curious to get to know his man better. I listen to his audio readings pretty regularly, and I really wanted to understand more. I didn't know a lot of his personal story. Clobber Times does shows that are live and stuff when I can't listen and enjoy them live, and connect with him personally because of the time zone differences, right? So the fact that we can coordinate things and get to know him more, this is how it started. And sure, it started with some of my closer friends, and now it gets to be more adventurous, and try to get out there and find new people and take your suggestions and those kinds of things. But that's the journey of life, and we should be able to stand together in a way where we can trust and have faith in our institutions and people around us and those kinds of things. And it has to start with each one of us, and then kind of go out from there. And then in solidarity, we can also hold other people more accountable when they're not being honest and truthful and faithful to what they've set up as our relationship. So that's kind of my topic for today. I really have really just loved doing this, and incorporating this in pops. You guys have been so much more welcoming. I always thought that this wasn't going to be a good fit because it has its own channel. I don't know if any of you guys know that. It was like at 900 subs. It could almost have been monetized. Just didn't have any hours because I wasn't doing any live streams. And when I first started Pops, I did a couple of shows. I did one with Arwen Avalon and Maria Tiatelli, and I split them where some of the pop culture stuff was on Pops and some of the Watch Your Story stuff was on Watch Your Story. And I knew in my gut that wasn't the direction I wanted to go. I just knew it wasn't right. And I have to give credit to Ryan Roger Athe. He and I had communicated back and forth about his channel, and it was like me talking to myself. And now that I'm in it, I think every so often I probably should take a break like this and have a conversation with you, clear my head, clear my thoughts, and talk about stuff that I've been thinking about or that's on my mind, something I've read or whatever it may be, just to have that. Not because I don't have someone or a video I could have played today, just because I think there's some value there to try to maintain that faith and trust and transparency with you. And this story kind of brought all that to light. And that's why I chose it. So I hope it's helped you in some ways. I hope you have a great day, great weekend. Till we talk again next time, just be blessed. Take care of yourself. Get out there, talk hard. Until next time, I am Bobs.